Good morning. It's the 3rd of November 2023. When we talk about fighting climate change, and you hear it big time in Canada, you hear it big time in Australia, you hear it big time in the United States, Ireland, Britain, and the rest of the European Union. You don't hear of it anywhere else. In 2015, President Barack Obama and other leaders signed up to the Paris Climate Accord. What has it done? What was its idea? If we can't stop Russia invading the Ukraine and Hamas killing civilians in Israel, and we can't stop Israel invading Gaza and killing thousands of innocent people, what hope is there of persuading countries to act and fight climate change? Now, when you talk of fighting, you're talking about another person, like a boxing match, like Muhammad Ali and somebody else, or you're talking about Conor McGregor fighting another component. You're talking about Gaelic football. There's two teams. There has to be 15 on each side, right? But when you're fighting a war, you're fighting the British were fighting the Germans. The United States came in and fought the Germans, and they fought the Japanese out on the east in the Pacific. And you had an absolute target. There was living beings. Also, we see that we try to fight disease. In the pandemic, they said that they had a vaccine to kill the coronavirus. That's all right, go ahead. But there was a living thing, a living organism there that could be attacked. Now, when you fight climate change, there's no living organism. There's no living species. So if they're fighting, if this is a war, and the war on climate change, and there has never been an example in history of a war on a non-living species, a thing or a mineral or something like that. I mean, why is it changing now? Now, you could say there was a war on poverty. Well, that really meant that they taxed the ones that had the money and took it off them and gave them to the ones that hadn't. So there was people involved as well. What is really at stake, in my opinion, with the war at climate change, it's fighting people who don't agree with the narrative as put by the established political parties, which do hold a good half of the electorate in their grasp. And in Ireland, you have a heap of them in Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Labour, and in the Green Party, and unfortunately in Sinn Féin. So they're saying anyone who fights them is wrong. I take legal cases, I advise groups on stopping the pylons and the wind farms, and they say, oh, you're stopping progress. So they label you, and then if you complain about immigration, you're a racist. Yet if you don't condemn Putin for invading Ukraine, you're condemning the Russians. Well, is that not racism? You're picking out the Russians and you're saying that they're wrong. So isn't that racism? What about if you support the Israelis? Well, then the Hamas and the Palestinians, they are racist, they're anti-Jewish, they're anti-Semitic. Okay, say that. Well, then if you complain about the Jewish army, the Israeli army attacking and killing innocent people in Gaza, well then, sure, you're racist again. Then you're anti-Semitic. Like, oh, which are you? And if you complain about Hamas, well then you're anti-Hamas, you're anti-Palestine. So the idea that racism is a good weapon or a good label to stick on people who point out the obvious and point out that the general narrative is wrong is crazy. It is absolutely mad. So now, so the likes of myself, the likes of the Republican Party in America to some degree, the Reform UK Party, Trump, and that, we would be seen as sort of the enemy to be conquered in climate change. And the weapons are not physical weapons normally, they're the media. They stop you from getting on the media, and they hold off half of the story and only let the other half out. The problem with that is that as other countries see through this, and as you put all your efforts into fighting climate change, you don't put in proper defences for your own country. You undermine it through migration, and you take away its fuel security, and fuel and oil and coal and gas are the lifeblood of all industrialized economies, unless you want to go out and cook your dinner with a dried out cow dung. That's what they're doing in some places. and they're cutting down the trees in Africa at an enormous rate, and that'll soon be the case in Germany this winter. I would say that you'll see the woods attacked in Germany because they will have no fuel to keep their homes warm. So this is what they said. This is the what has happened, and I have predicted this, and they think that they're going to solve this by they've invested so many billions and billions. They've put so much into this green stuff, into renewable energy, into electric cars, and when all's said and done, and push comes to shove, it's no good whatsoever. It will be no good on a calm day. It'll be no good at night, and there'll be no electricity coming in through the wires. And in Germany, there's no gas coming in to a lot of the factories, and the factories are closing down. Now, that is so obvious. That is so absolutely obvious to me that either I'm extremely wrong or I'm making an unbelievable mistake here. There's something I don't see, or I'm correct. And if I'm correct, then the storm clouds are gathering. We'll see how many Americans now will fight for Israel. Is there heart in it? Will they go on the big aircraft carrier, drop down in Shannon, and then head off into the war to protect Israel in the current environment? Are they that pro Jew or pro Semitic, if that's the word? Do they care a tuppenny damn? I don't know, to lay down their lives. I have severe doubts if they will. And if they don't, then what power has America or anything else? Meanwhile, the Chinese are getting armed up, the Russians are getting armed up, and the Indians are armed up, and the many countries that have kicked out the Europeans and the French in Africa are getting armed up and are now charging the proper price for the stuff that they're selling. And meanwhile, our currency is depreciating in the euro and big time in the dollar zone, and there we are. How long that will last, I don't know. Is it gone too far? I think it is. I'm not asking anyone to do any more. I think that asking people to change or to vote differently is a waste. They're not capable of seeing through that. So folks, that's the story. The fight against climate change. Where is the enemy? The enemy is me. Some of you are the enemy. There is no, what are they going to do? What do you do if you had a huge army and go out to fight climate change? What do? You fire and destroy the fossil fuel electricity plants. You fire up and destroy and bomb the factories that are using electricity. You force people to take fires out of their homes and replace them with some kind of electric system when they're actually warning people, and I have warnings there from my 2 electricity suppliers that if there's vulnerable people in the house, let them know and they'll try and provide them with a supply. That never happened before. Everybody got a supply. So here we are in Ireland now, and our supply is threatened. Do you see that? So there's the situation. There is the climate story, and it'll be nice to see, and it'll be interesting to see how it pans out over the winter, because it could be a very cold winter. It's on now, the winter's on now in the 3rd of November. You're talking easily about the middle of April till there's any little relief. The middle of April till you can get out of bed and not feel cold. And that takes a bit of getting used to, and that's what's coming down the road. And that's what the Irish people are going to vote for. They're going to vote for no fireplaces. They're going to vote for no cars. They're going to vote for no fossil fuel, no diesel, no petrol, no kerosene, no home heating oil, and they're going to vote for all of this, electric cars, no vehicles as well. That's what they are determined to vote for. How that is the case, search me. The only relieving thing is in America as well, and Canada's gone that way big time, and Britain is a basket case economically through complete mismanagement by the Conservative government. France is in trouble. It's riots on the street every day. Germany is in trouble, and so it continues. All we can do is point it out. These are the facts. What I would do, I would end all carbon taxes. First thing, all electricity suppliers would have to compete in on a level playing field with no subsidies. Let them sink or let them swim. You can choose an electric car if you wish. You get no grant. You just go ahead and do it. I'd price the electricity fed into electric cars with a road fund tax to pay for the tax, and I'd let them go and let them off. And if they can't get them insured, well, then that's their problem. So folks, that's my view on it. What a total and utter mess. What a total and utter mess. I don't think the Europeans or the American young people will fight for any of these decrepit countries. I don't think they will. I cannot see any worthwhile American man or woman taking up arms and risking their lives for Alexander Ocasio Cortez, for Adam Schiff, for that Featherman fella elected in Pennsylvania. The people voted for him, and they think they're going to get youngsters to lay down their lives for his depraved ideology. Let them, the people who voted for him, let them go out and vote for him. And then you have Sleepy Joe and Kamala at the head of it all. A total geriocracy, really, a total mad situation in the world. Folks, we'll see you back for something else. Comment underneath. Bye bye. Thank you.